All right, so we're back for part 2 of chapter 4. He's really upset because Mac can't make a decision whether or not he can go fishing with Dan, the tarpon man, Dirty Dan, the tarpon man. Mac gave my arm a reassuring squeeze. Don't you worry. I think it'll be all right. Turning to Dan, I said, thanks. I really hope I can come. If your mother says it's okay, you come to Mac's Tuesday night, said Dan. After I whoop these 2 at cards, we'll check your gear and tie up some flies. Wednesday morning, we'll go out, catch you a silver king. Deal? Deal, I said. Just then, music blared over the sound system, and the DJ stepped behind the podium and began fiddling with the microphone, which let out a loud squeal. It's the karaoke contest, I said. I better go back. Meemaw's singing. Dan's face broke into a big grin. Ooh-wee, he said. This I want to hear. Mac and the others all turned to the table where Mom and Meemaw were sitting, waved and smiled. Meemaw waved back gaily, and Mom wiggled her hand half-heartedly. Go on, said Mac, and he gave me another hug. Don't worry, I'll talk to her, he said softly. Thanks, Mac, I said. I wanted to ask him what Mom had said to him on the phone that morning so he could tell me I'd heard it wrong or it was all a misunderstanding and he was coming back soon. But that wasn't the right time or place to talk. It was never the right time or place anymore. Feeling a familiar lump rising in my throat, I swallowed it quickly and said, see ya. The DJ was explaining that the winner of the contest would be the person who gets the loudest applause after singing. So clap real loud for your favorite, ladies and gentlemen. He told us, and my state-of-the-art, scientifically accurate applausometer will record the level. He held up something that looked like half a clock with numbers on it from 1 to 10 and a big arrow, and everybody cheered. Let's begin now and find out who will be the lucky guy or gal to win this fantastic home karaoke machine. He pulled a slip of paper from a box and said, please welcome our first contestant, Miss Arlene Kimball, who will be singing Proud Mary. Good, Meemaw said. I didn't want to go first. She gave me a wink and added, the darker it gets, the better I'll look up there. Arlene Kimball did an okay job, I guess, but I whispered to Meemaw, you've got that rolling on the river part. A lot more pizzazz. You'd have given that rolling on the river part a lot more pizzazz, wouldn't you, Meemaw? Shh, now, she said, but she was smiling, and she gave my hand a little squeeze. The DJ cupped his hands to his ear to listen for the applause, then moved the meter to 4. Arlene smiled kind of weakly and sat down next to a guy I figured was Mr. Kimball. He'd been cheering his head off anyway. The next lady sang a slow, sad song about the morning light coming after the dark, dark night. Her voice got real high and quivery towards the end, and with a tragic expression to go with the mournful words, she cluttered at her throat with one hand and dropped her head to show she was plain wrung out from all the emotion of it all. I rolled my eyes at Meemaw, and she laughed. There was some polite clapping, and the meter registered 2. A few of the singers who followed were pretty good. We got a bad scare from a husband and wife team that scored an 8, and a young guy who couldn't sing for anything, but had a lot of friends who clapped and cheered and whistled and stomped his score up to a 9. When it was Meemaw's turn, I was suddenly nervous as all get out. But she walked up there as if she owned the place. No embarrassed looks or bashful giggles from Meemaw. The minute she started snapping her fingers, I noticed everybody in the place sat up and paid real close attention. When she got to the part where she sang, one of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you, she narrowed her eyes and pointed out to the crowd, and it was clear to everyone that Meemaw was no one to mess with. Then, during the talking part, she made her voice real low and dangerous, and the music got spiky and jazzy. Meemaw started her boots marching, and the crowd went crazy. When she was finished, Dirty Dan ran right up on stage and gave her a big hug and a kiss, lifting her right off the ground to do it. Well, I probably don't have to tell you the rest. Meemaw scored a 10. And the DJ said she'd have gotten an 11 if the meter had gone that high. There were a few more contestants after that, and I felt sorry for them having to follow Meemaw. It was as if they had the stuffing knocked out of them. before they had even started. Mac and Earl came over to congratulate Meemaw afterwards, and they helped Dirty Dan and me carry the karaoke machine out to Mom's car. Ooh, karaoke machine to Mom's car. Who do you think just won that karaoke contest? Oh, yeah. While Meemaw stayed to collect a few more compliments from her admirers, Mac told Mom he needed to speak to her, so I got into the car and they walked off to the parking lot a ways. I watched as they talked. I couldn't hear their exact words, but I didn't need to. I heard them argue so many times about what I was and wasn't allowed to do that I could pretty much imagine the conversation. Mom shook her head and Mac talked some more. I crossed my fingers, whispering over and over, please let me go, please let me go, please, 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 please let me go. Then Mom frowned and folded her arms over her chest. Please, 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 I murmured while I held onto my elbows and stared up at the sky, looking annoyed. It seemed like a long time. Finally, Mom looked at Mac and said loud enough so I could hear from the car, all right, but you're in charge. If that boy comes back with one hair on his head harmed, you and Dan are both going to have to answer to me. Mac nodded and said a few more words. Then Mom was walking towards the car. Mac headed back inside, but first he turned to me with a grin that made him look like a big naughty kid, and he gave me a thumbs up. I could hardly believe it. I was going tarpon fishing with Dirty Dan, the tarpon man. So he's really excited right now, and I bet Meemaw is really excited. Think about Meemaw and her personality, how it differs from Skeeter's mom. Good things to reflect on after this chapter.